Any corrections to the minutes or any additions? Can I get a motion to accept the minutes? Second. Any oppositions? It has been unanimously moved and seconded that we accept the minutes from our last meeting. We're going to start off our meeting a little differently. We're trying to do something each meeting with some kind of presentation. Either it's a tour of a police station or some demonstration. We hoped, well, I had hoped that we would be able to do a different demonstration, but we have to be in a different location to do that. And so hopefully next month we'll be able to, the next meeting. So we're going to have a demonstration on an item that's probably use of force. And under Ocean View's policy, this would be under chapter 3, section 300. This would be 302, which is 302.9 to be specific, and it's use of the wrap. So, Officer.
Just guys, go ahead and set up. I'm going to just do a quick little introduction and turn it over to Sergeant Hopkins and Sergeant Bradshaw, and do a little practical demonstration for you. So, oftentimes in law enforcement, we come into contact with folks that are non-compliant, and you know, a lot of times, especially during the summer months, you know, when compliance issues have to deal with drugs or alcohol or mental illness or a combination thereof. So some of these individuals are extremely violent, and even though they may be unarmed, it's very difficult to restrain somebody against their will. It can be a small guy or gal, and if they really want to fight back, it can take 5 or 6 officers to get them under control. It never looks pretty. It's always ugly, and there's always cameras around. You know, and it's just a fact. And there's no way to make it look pretty because you're simply, you know, physically beating them, if you will, into submission. You have to use physical force to get them to submit. We're not going to go. You know, we hear a lot about de-escalation, but de-escalation, you know, it takes 2 to tango. So you got to have communication. You got to have somebody that's coherent, that you know, can understand and communicate and act appropriately. And when we're talking about alcohol, drugs, and mental illness, yeah, sometimes it's not there. So we found this device a couple years back called the wrap. It's a restraint device. And we decided that this might be a good opportunity to show this to the members of the PAC. If you see or a video or a news clip that talks about officers using this restraint tool, I think it's good for you folks as liaisons between us and the community to understand what it is. We're also, one of the parts of this tool is the spit hood. This hood is designed to keep people from spitting on us. That's it. Some folks and some organizations are very much opposed to this. Kendall's, looks like Kendall's volunteered. Hold all the way down so you can see Kendall. So this is designed not to restrict your vision. It just simply keeps her from being able to spit on us. Justin, I don't know, did you do the pulse ox?
We did a pulse ox, and for our medically inclined in here, she was at a 97, so really good, right? We're gonna check back in with Kendall here and
some of our critics claim that this restricts breathing, and people have died. There's a lot of studies on the spit hood. I can tell you, most of the studies show the mosquito nets that they sell at Walmart were twice as restrictive as the masks that we all wore during COVID, not the N95, just the surgical mask, were about 5 times more restrictive in their airplane.
Why do they allow guys to do that? I think cover them up to protect their eyes.
Well, part of that is you don't want to take, we're visual creatures, And you don't want to take that, visual awareness away from that.
And not to step on chief's feet too, but part of our policy is as well is that we're guiding them because it can, even though it's very little, it can obstruct vision. So we're assisting them as they walk while they're running.
All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Reese Crouch, Ocean PD. This is Justin Hopkins.
Now they go.
We were lucky enough to be volunteered by Chief McLaughlin to come here and give you guys a demonstration on the RAP today. Okay, who has heard of the RAP device? Anybody seen this, heard? Haven't seen it? Okay, so this, if you actually use it the first night we got it, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, myself, Officer Emery.
This is basically a system we use to restrain somebody who may be fighting us, who's violently flaying around. Instead of using leg shackles, leg irons, all that heavy stuff, this takes the place of all that. So we're gonna give you a quick demo on how we put it on somebody. And so I need a volunteer, I need a victim. Victim? All right, come on up.
He's ready to go.
So, just as we're getting set up here, did you bring training cuffs today by chance?
I did.
All right, we'll simulate handcuffs today, just for the sake of the demonstration. I don't want to put real handcuffs on you. So what's your name?
Right.
Greg, I'm Justin, by the way. So a part of this is Sergeant Bradshaw was saying. Yeah. This is for somebody, that's violent, combative, if they're a danger to themselves, others, or property. And all other means are either not practical or they haven't worked. So that would again be like the leg shackles or other restraint methods. So
This means that leg shackles?
this means that, yeah, I think you'll agree with this here shortly. So, Greg, if you don't mind, could you just lay on your stomach, sir? And
So we've handcuffed him and we got him laying on the ground and he's still.
I'm already cuffed.
you're already
You're
cuffed.
already cuffed.
Do you mind placing your hands behind your back, sir?
So he's flailing around, kicking everything. We need to restrain this.
I'm a double cuff guy.
Yep, he is a double cuff. So as Greg has stated, sometimes when people are a little bit larger or wide shoulders, we have to use 2 pairs of handcuffs so we don't injure shoulders. From this point forward, we're going to simulate a 2-officer response. So I'm going to be standing here with Greg. His hands are behind his back. He is cuffed. From this position, we don't have the RAP necessarily. I would direct Sergeant Bradshaw to go and retrieve it from his vehicle. The first thing I'm going to do while I'm waiting him to set it up, Greg, I'm just going to turn you towards me. I'm going to put him in a recovery position. His hands are still behind his back. What I don't want is I don't want him lying down on his stomach. We could encounter something called positional asphyxia. It can be very difficult for him to breathe, and we could put ourselves in a really bad situation. What's that? Do you? Okay. Well, are you okay doing this? Okay. So we don't want to restrict their breathing in any way, shape, or form. While we're in this position, Sergeant Bradshaw, if you've noticed, he's pulled the equipment out of the sleeve itself, and there's 4 components. There is an ankle wrap, a leg wrap, a harness, and a helmet. So once he is all set up, he would have the ankle wrap. And if we can all do it, or if we can do it in one go, that's better for us. We would normally set up the leg wrap as well. And Greg, I'm just gonna step over just a second, sir. We would also set up the leg wrap itself. And it's got big bold letters. So it's cop proof. We put our knees right here. And if you notice, it's got reinforcement bars. So once it's strapped in, they can't bend their knees. It only can wrap in one direction. So we're going to lay it out. We're going to pull all these buckles all the way out.
Ideally, you want 3 people to do this. You're probably gonna have 2 people holding that guy down, 1 person sitting up on you.
Meanwhile, he's kicking, screaming.
He's kicking, screaming. He's having a rough time. He has too many margaritas at Salted Rim or Mangoes, wherever. So this would normally be all set up, stretched out. I'm gonna be demoing Sergeant Bradshaw's position, but we would have this set up. Make sure everything's easily accessible for ourselves. Once we have it all set up like this, then we can roll him onto his stomach. Again, our priority here is to keep him off his stomach for as long as possible. So Greg, I'm gonna have you roll back on your stomach, sir, and we can move that to you as well. So hands are cupped behind his back. We're going to cross his feet. And this is where it's easier with 3 officers, because you can have one person that's really controlling those legs as he's kicking and screaming as we're applying these
Yeah,
ankle
he's-
straps.
What's here, bone on bone, right? He's really kicking and flailing. All you do is take all my weight with my leg, push it down on his ankles like that. I'm gonna get some pain compliance out of him while I'm putting the ankle straps on. Okay. Put these on. Like that. Like so.
And just for demonstration purposes, Greg, can you go ahead and try to pull your feet apart right now?
Nope. You know,
All right, very good. So from this point forward, hopefully we have the leg strap itself already set out. Put knees where it designates on the device itself. This is where that 3rd officer really comes into play. So we're gonna pretend I have that 3rd officer, and we're gonna strap these one by one. So click, I'm gonna do a loose pull, toss it over to Sergeant Bradshaw. Same thing, loose pull, toss it, and again.
Remind me not to drink an ocean.
So now that we have this applied, it's not all the way cinched down. This is where we put him back into the recovery position. So
Yeah, you gotta do that.
Yeah,
do that.
And now that we're here, he can really cinch that down tight. Legs up for me, Greg. Go ahead. Not too easy. Not too easy. All right. Now that the leg straps are applied, we're gonna rotate him up on his butt. So sit up for it. And you notice, and if you can you slide your butt to your left a little bit? Notice my position here is very intentional. 2 things. For one, I'm taking the pressure off of him. That way, he's not fighting to stay sitting up. It's very difficult in this position to stay seated. For 2, if he's flailing around, I don't want him to fall and hit his head. I can control him a little bit from this position.
And
No.
he's still handcuffed
He is
behind
still-
his back.
he is still handcuffed.
Yes, he's still handcuffed. We
I
still
just don't want to take any chances of injuring himself to that. With regular handcuffs, not a little bit, yeah, I can drive it in. I'm not going to. So now we have the chest harness itself.
Okay.
Big bold letters again, show the camera. Big old bold letters again, back, top proof.
cut proof.
We're gonna slide this very carefully over top of his head. And when he's handcuffed, I would normally speed these under his arms and provide them to Sergeant Bradshaw. He's gonna clip them.
Really use this thing?
Yeah, we have.
This thing's great. This thing's awesome.
And once it's clipped in, I can reach over top of Greg here and I can cinch it down fairly tight. And if you notice on his back, there's a carabiner. This is where I would slip his handcuffs in the center. That way he can't move his arms one way or the other. As I'm doing that, Sergeant Bradshaw is securing that front strap. I'm gonna push Greg forward just a little bit and you can cinch it down.
Good.
And now I'm gonna let go.
That's comfortable now.
How do you
It's
feel?
literally outright comfortable. It's more comfortable like this when I was trying to sit on it.
Now, what I'll demonstrate here as well. So I'm gonna reach in and touch your belly here a second. Notice there's a bit of a gap here. Do you feel restricted anyway, breathing?
Not at all. Totally relaxed.
This is also good too for EY blood draws, guys. You're not getting my blood, right?
And we'll cover that. So, and the last step we would do is we would put the helmet on them just to protect their head from any jolts or falls.
Justin, just kidding.
And we'll get back to that in just a moment, sir.
Yeah,
So he's ours, right?
Breathing easier.
Right now, he is ours. Can you do anything
No,
outside of your
if
hands?
my hands were cuffed, I couldn't do a thing. I had. I fight it.
His breathing is normal. We can leave him in this for really as long as we need to. Unsupervised, no longer than a half hour, if they're going to be medically transported. While they're in there, or while they're in this device, we do have to maintain constant supervision. From
How
here,
did you do when you want to do it?
this is from here, straps, and I mean, obviously, if you have somebody that's not Oshkosh like myself, we can lift them and carry them around.
Yeah, I can see that one.
Now, one thing that Sergeant Bradshaw has also alluded to as well, I'm gonna be honest with everybody. The first time I saw this, I was not impressed. we went through the training. I just thought it was another thing. And, I swear by it now, because the very first night that we had this, we arrested somebody that was DUI. They were 6'7", a beanpole, tall student. Very non-compliant, fought us on the side of the street, would not allow us to take blood. We put this on, and it completely took the fight out of them. When it came time for the blood draw procedure after we secured our search warrant, what we did is we took a second pair of cuffs, secured it on one of his hands, secured the other cuff directly to the carabiner. We then rotated this cuff out, secured the handcuff to this device, and realistically, we pulled this just a little bit tighter so he can sit forward a little bit more. And now we have a wonderful presentation for the phlebotomist. Over time, like I said, it tends to take the fight out of them after a significant amount of time or a decent amount of time. We didn't want to take him completely out of the device and have him fighting us again. Greg, I'm just going to relieve this pressure. Actually,
No pressure.
I'm going to sit him up. Do things that we can do. Few things that we can do here. We can loosen the leg wrap, the ankle strap, to give them a little bit more mobility, or we can take those off. So I'm gonna flip it down to your stomach, Greg.
All over.
Yeah, just do your stomach, actually. And we're gonna just take off these two devices.
This is also approved for pregnant women.
It's not, no, now under 12 and pregnant women, we are not.
Okay.
I did, I'll probably keep you on. Greg, I'm gonna have you stand up. So one of the last configurations, they still may pose a threat to us, but a lot of the fight's been taken out of them. So we can have this last configuration. And Greg, I'm not gonna sit this down for obvious reasons in just a moment. He's between legs. He's still handcuffed behind his back. And then I'm gonna secure this
This is where they come really.
to the back of the harness. He's still handcuffed. We've reduced the ability for him to move from side to side and hit us with an elbow. And your handcuff key, and there's no actual locking mechanism, push button. Is there any questions on this device at all?
We've used it many times. It works great.
For demonstration purposes today, the demonstration obviously took a few minutes to do. We do this in training, and we have one of the officers role play as the suspect. We put mats down, and the suspect is combative. And, 2, 3 officers that jump on him, and the fight's going. It's going to be out on the street. And I think we're down to, what's the fastest time?
We've got it in
Under a minute.
about, yeah, let's just say about
Under a minute, completely on, completely restrained, under a minute with somebody that's being combative.
The handcuff procedures that were sent around before the meeting, it said for handcuffing, not less than 12 years old, and for the wrap, not less than 14 years old. What happens between 12 and 14? There's nothing in there. It says one way or the other.
So, yeah, I can address that. So for me, it's not necessarily age. The age is the guideline. It's puberty. If they've reached puberty, breast development in females, facial hair in males, that's when we're looking at the handcuff.
Yeah, and, part of that too is, unfortunately, our lawyers, come up with these, rules and regulations, and they're not out on the street. I can tell you, there's 12-year-old kids that are bigger than me, and, when they want to fight, they want to fight. We do have some restrictions, unfortunately, and sometimes, the circumstances dictate, the actions, and it's just, a lot of it is circumstantial. So, we've had that where, and most of the time, in a situation like a pregnant woman, what we've done in that is we will try to physically restrain them, and we call for an ambulance, the EMS there, they strap them down on a stretcher. It's a medical, it's a medical restraint, not a police restraint, and we kind of get around it that way.
So you transport with an ambulance.
Yeah, we'll transport an ambulance. The nice thing about this for our EMS folks too, they love all that. They show up, like I said, we can present that arm, so if they gotta run a line, do it, pre-hospital, they can do that. They got easy access to the arms. We've had problems in the past where when we handcuff them to the stretcher, that they injure themselves. This is very safe. In fact, our EMS down in Millville, we've had situations where they haven't even required. Typically, an officer's got to go in the back because in case the guy gets loose, they're in that. We pick them up, we put them on the stretcher, they strap them down on the stretcher, and they're off to the hospital for about. And then normally at the hospital, what we've seen is in a lot of cases the physicians will sedate them, chemically, to kind of calm them down before we start taking them off. And, I think one of the big things today that we wanted to show you is that regardless of what you hear, in the media, on the internet, these things are safe. Ray, you're gonna test more than any pain.
No.
The only pain may come from us getting you into it. Once you're into it, you're safe. Doesn't restrict your breathing. Justin, what was the,
Yeah, so, first, Kendall, did you feel any different? You were maybe a little silly, but.
Not as bad as a minute, like you said, that.
Her pulse ox was the exact same times. Nothing changed. That was.
there's like multiple peer-reviewed medical studies out there, on these, particular, foot restraint, hoods. And, again, the facts are that they do not restrict your breathing or your ability to breathe in any way. Yeah, well, yeah. If you look on the internet, though, you're gonna find information to the contrary. So that's one of the reasons we wanted to have Ken to learn that. So any other questions?
Is this standard for all departments? Or is this?
There's a lot of departments across the country that are using it. I'm not sure. Jason's got one. I'm not sure if anybody else is using it. Who does? I tell you, we get calls quite often from the state police. They do not have these. They know that we have them, and they've called us out on a couple of different times for us to come out. Now, of course, we can't do that.
How many do you have?
I think we will have almost one per vehicle now, and one in the cell block.
We have a couple more on the order to be
I was gonna say, it depends on the shift. I believe our shift currently has 2 assigned vehicles. We also have one in the cell block.
We're just ordered, I got some grant money, we just ordered like 4 more, so that we can get one in every car.
And I can say that there's regular training with your office. I've been in on a couple of the trainings that they train regularly on how to use.
Again, when we train, if this was a training event, we'd have great fighting, resisting and, kicking, throwing punches and, because we're trying to simulate, real encounters as much as possible. And I know we've had a couple instances where, we've had 2-man teams been able to get that on to person.
Very
completely
first night.
restrained, like in less than a minute.
The very first night, it was myself and Officer Dalton. We're both similar size, and we restrained a 6'7" male that was very impaired and combative. Like I said, I wasn't impressed initially. I became a believer literally the night of the training.
Make it difference, I guess, on assessment, deciding to use it or not, if you can tell the person's on drugs, or they may vomit, or something like that, either alcohol.
Well, again, the vomiting, the drugs,
That's not.
and it's
that
really-
It's not gonna stay inside, but.
yeah, it's, we're taught with the spit hood that if they vomit, the hood's got to come off and a new one's got to go on, because that vomit could dry and that could restrict their breathing, absolutely. And as far as, being under the influence of anything, their resistance level is really all that matters. They could be under the influence, they could be autistic. There could be something else going on that we're not aware of. At the end of the day, though, we got to get them restrained first, and we got to get them, to a facility that we can get them under control, and then we can determine what's going on here. And, you know, but really, it's not, you know, whether they're impaired or not really isn't a factor because, you know, if they're being resistant, they're being resistant. So we've got to do it again because.
Two comments I'd like to make, and it's only because I'm in the station, I see this all the time. One, it's not inhumane. So if you've got an autistic person, you're putting them in a restraint to get them under control. It's not, you didn't see anything inhumane. The other thing is with training, you know, we learn how to ride a bicycle, but you learn on day one. 500 days later is the next time you get on the bicycle. Are you gonna remember what you learned on day one? So by having regular training, that keeps the mind fresh, and the officers can reduce the amount of time it takes to put this device in. I think it's a great device. That's just my opinion, but I've seen it. There are other things that officers do that may not be. No, but no, everything that I've seen in my time in visiting the police station, I've not seen anything that's inhumane, and the officers are, to me, very good in what they do.
And with this device, again, for us, it's, we don't have another alternative in a situation like that, other than just to,
More people.
you know, and more force until we really overcome that resistance. But, you know, we're doing that with, baton blows and taser deployments and punches and kicks and, versus if we can get, 2 or 3 guys there that know how to use this thing, we get this on rapidly, we eliminate all that. You know, some of that still may happen, but certainly the amount of that, you know, of course, is going to be reduced significantly.
And a lot of things you see on social media, just people just talk. They've never seen it demonstrated. They don't know what it is. If they've heard somebody who had been put in the restraint, and so they're going to blow it all out of proportion and have it not been there. So that's one of the things that we can do as members of this PAC. When we see something that we know is incorrect, we need to speak up and tell folks that is not right. If you want to have a demonstration on how it's done, let me know, and we can arrange for some kind of community demonstration of exactly how the wrap is used.
Or we can all go to Dewey Beach Saturday night.
I am a Julian, so when I think of it, as you don't use that, so visually, it's using it, someone who's DUI on the side of the road, you pull him out, that's fine, he's by himself. Dewey Beach, you've got 500 bystanders.
Yeah.
What are you doing? You know, that could be,
Well, again,
it could really turn into making something worse because you've restrained their buddy or something like that.
Well, I'll say
Because
this,
it visually looks worse than it is.
even more reason though to get somebody under control real quick.
Yeah.
You know, and get them under control real quick, get them out of there,
Yeah.
you know, you know.
And one thing that I don't think we hammer enough is this is also to prevent them from causing further harm to themselves. I can't tell you, I've been at Ocean View for 13 years. The amount of people that I've come across in this job that once they're placed under arrest, they're doing anything they can to bash their head against the wall on their own. Or I had a subject in one of our previous restraint devices, and this has been years now. We have a restraint chair that we used to employ. They would do anything they could to rock themselves over, even with a helmet on. It would crash to the side, they'd hit their head on the toilet. It was terrible. And this, they're on the ground, they're in a helmet. Greg, I don't believe you can move pretty much at all outside of your hands.
I was tough, I wouldn't move at all.
So this is also to protect them as well.
I mean, it was not uncomfortable sitting up on that.
Really,
You were happy for them.
Oh my God, more comfortable than laying down.
You're welcome to stop by anytime. We'll let you know when we're practicing.
bring my wife back for flowers also.
Meeting for 20 hours. Working group, we had 2 members that didn't quite, or didn't complete the 20 hours. One has resigned from our committee. And I believe to have a replacement for. Right, so we have a replacement for that one. And another, he was on our committee, he was doing well, but because of medical reasons, he has resigned. So there'll be two new members joining our, two citizen members joining our committee, at our next meeting. Everyone else exceeded their 20 hours. And so, really happy. Just because you exceeded your 20 hours doesn't mean that you shouldn't continue to integrate with your police department. Ride-alongs, things, going into the station just to check what's going on, how are things going, those kind of things. So continue to interact with the police departments.
And it's a yearly requirement, right? So it starts.
No,
over-
it's only for the
One
first
time.
year. Oh, it's only one time, but that's why I encourage you, just because, okay, I finished my 20 hours and I'll never see you again, don't do that. Our new members, they are still working on their 20 hours. One of our new members, she came in completing her 20 hours before she graduated. Oh, wow. But, please continue to work with the police departments. There have been a lot of things because of accreditation. A lot of departments have had to make some changes, and I'm going to open it up for discussion with our police chief. Let's start with, not because he's my chief, but because I think what he says will help the discussion for all the police chiefs. So, Chief Lofton.
Okay, on accreditation, I actually, was in a meeting yesterday, with, our, Delaware Police Accreditation, Association, manager, Director Moriarty. Sean Moriarty, the director of the POST, the Police Officer Standards and Training Commission, and the statewide PAC Commission. So these fall under his area of responsibility. He oversees them. There's a lot of things happening there, especially with the accreditation. Just a little bit about Ocean View. We just went through back in the spring a reaccreditation process. So we are accredited, and then maybe as we go around, the different chiefs can talk about like their agencies and where they're at in the accreditation process. We have until 2028 to be accredited in the state of Delaware. By law, all departments must be accredited by 2028. Yeah, one of the discussions Director Moriarty and I had yesterday was for departments that do not meet that all deadline, they will be more than likely suspended. I mean, all operations of the department will cease. All the officers in the department will have their post certifications put into a suspended status until they either quickly come into compliance or they, they may be forced to dissolve. So we are concerned about a couple of departments throughout the state. Some have made no effort whatsoever. I don't think that's the case with any of our departments. But there are some departments that we may see at the end of the day in 2028 that they cease to exist and they go out of business. There's also, there's some new standards. The entire DPAC accredited, that's the accreditation manual, is being rewritten. There's additional standards that are being put in place, and I tell you, it's going to be very difficult for a lot of our smaller agencies to come into compliance. For example, just recently, we have signed an MOU with South Bethany Police Department, Pembroke Island Police Department, and Bethany Beach Police Department for them to be able to utilize our cell block in our holding area. If you haven't toured our facility, we have a cell block. Our maximum capacity is 15. 15 prisoners at the max. I think the most we've ever had in there has been about 9 at one time. Those other departments, they just physically don't have that capability within their police departments. That's a requirement for accreditation. and they're just unable to meet that. So we're able to work out an MOU situation so that they're, for example, Chief Lovins, if he's got a prisoner, his prisoner's gonna get brought back and booked at our facility, and we'll take him back to South Bethany's facility. Same thing with Fenwick Island and Bethany Beach as well. So we're all able to pull our resources together. We've got one facility. I think we've got an MOU that everybody's comfortable with. I think we're in pretty good shape there. Let me just see. Under post, we've had I encourage everybody to come out to the post meetings as well as the PAC meetings. They're very educational. We developed some new mandatory guidelines for active shooter response. These are training requirements. There's an addition, current 16 hours of mandatory training that's required for all police officers in the state. That's going to bump up to 24 hours in the near future. We're also, I think this is very important, something I've been pushing for years. Reactivation requirement amendments that are going to go in place. This is going to cover officers that go from one department to another. Say, I decide to leave Ocean View today and go to Shelbyville. Shelbyville Police Department currently isn't required to do a medical, psychological, background check, anything on me, because I'm already a certified officer. Very soon, that's not going to be the case. Even though I've been an officer for 35 years now, if I go to Shelbyville, he's going to be required to do a full medical, psychological, full background, and I have to go. I might have to go through some in-service training requirements. Certainly, at a minimum, qualify with their equipment that they have. They may, for example, be carrying a different handgun and a different rifle. So I'd have to be certified on those different devices. Yes.
How much does the onboarding like that cost with all that testing and stuff?
Honestly, it's
$6,000 to $8,000 more to it right now.
Yeah. So it can be spent, and it depends what you do. You know how. And for example, for Ocean View, we require you undergo a polygraph exam. Some departments don't do that, so that's an additional cost that I would have that they may not. So that's something that's going to be coming about and being codified as we speak. Then they're also going to establish, back to DPAC, some minimum requirements that are going to be in place for a municipality to have a police department. So they're going to have right now, under the police accreditation guidelines, some of the smaller agencies are just checking NA, and things that are not applicable, and some of them are pretty extensive. We've got departments, for example, Viola and Kenton and Ellendale. Their police departments are like, maybe 2 people can fit inside their police department. They don't have a bathroom facility. They have no ability to hold a prisoner, or even store evidence or anything like that. And so right now they're getting away with saying not applicable because we don't have that. In the future, we're going to say, if you don't have this, you can't be a police department. You got to have some minimum things here. And that list is actually growing. But we're moving our agencies in Delaware out of the, into the modern ages when it comes to professional policing. And that's going to result in some costs for some of these municipalities. They may have to build new police stations, new facilities, for example. One of the things we've been able to do is, I think this committee is a reflection of that, is pulling our resources and working together, smaller agencies, so that we can maintain some autonomy, and still be able to get the job done professionally. So I think what else is new in Ocean View? Got a bit like everybody. I think we've had a busy summer. Traffic. If Chief DeShulo could stop these cars from coming eastbound. Ocean View, it would be very much appreciated. I'm sure the 54 corridor is as bad as the 26 corridor. It has been a noticeable increase in the amount of traffic and the number of folks in town this summer. I'm hoping our businesses and our hotels, motels are having a good year because these people got to be going somewhere.
Ain't spending money.
Not spending money, okay. But, yep, yes, sir.
Chief, you mentioned having to qualify to become as a certified officer to go and be employed. Is that to combat like somebody in Texas that loses their job because something happened down there that's maybe not written, but they come back up here and they want another job?
Yes, in fact, yeah, the other part of that is, the Delaware Police Chiefs Association now, we participate in what is called the National Decertification List. So somebody, we are bound to check that on new applicants. If they were, left, Texas under, bad, conditions, and they're red flag. They can't be a police officer in Texas anymore. They shouldn't be able to be a police officer in the state of Delaware. So there's now a national decertification list of these folks that are being decertified in the state of Delaware. Our folks here that we decertified 4 or 5 Tuesday at our meeting. So we're just about every single meeting we're decertifying multiple people. I'll say this: there's no other professional governing body in the state of Delaware that holds its people as accountable as we do in the police world. I challenge you to find that. And there, whether you're a barber, an architect, an engineer, a lawyer, a doctor, they all have boards that govern them. And I'll tell you what, I guarantee we probably decertify more folks at one of our meetings than some of these groups do in multiple years.
Well, and I vote that we do that with some of our politicians, do the same, the decertification.
Unfortunately, they have no such process.
Unfortunately.
For them, and there's certainly none that the public is involved in.
Exactly.
I'm trying to think, I had one other thought there. Part of that too is we've had a terrible history in Delaware, especially in the smaller agencies. They're desperate for help. We got a guy that maybe leaves Dover Police Department for some reason. He got in some kind of trouble up there, and to make it easy, they just let him resign versus terminating. And his certification is still valid, so he pops up someplace else. And that bad apple goes from department to department to department. And we've seen that on multiple occasions. Guys like me that have been around a long time, I haven't had a psychological exam or a polygraph exam in 35 years. So if I switch over to the department, just got to the psychological, and I was physically and mentally capable 35 years ago, doesn't necessarily mean I am today. So we're requiring those folks to go through that process again. And I think it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
I'm gonna go to our next departments, but I want to say something once in my mind as you get over these stuff. One of the things as citizens, it's important that we go to our town meetings, especially when they're talking about budgets, because they will cut out things that are necessary for the police departments because they don't understand why it's necessary. So it's important for us to attend these meetings so that we know what's being cut, what's being checked off as not necessary, when in fact it is necessary. Our police department should not have to go hunting for a building that they can house prisoners in. That takes them out of their specific jurisdiction into another. Things might still be going on in their jurisdiction, but if you only have 2 that are on board for one evening, that just creates chaos. So we need to really go to those meetings, especially if they're talking about that.
So I have a few things. Kendall, I have a couple updated training hours for Mr. Tom Glenn. You want me to give this to you now, or do you want me to shoot you an email?
Give it to me, whatever, or I can, or email, either way.
I'll shoot you an email. So Senior Corporal Colin yesterday got approval from Post, to be a firearms instructor, so we're very excited about that. He's gonna be training us, and it was a lot of training, and he did a really good job with it, so we're excited for that. An update for our accreditation, we were assigned 2 new mock assessors. The original individual we were assigned was not doing what he needed to do, so we were assigned 2 new people. We have a tentative on-site date for December 3rd, and we're gonna have to do how you were talking about with South Bethany using your facility. We're gonna end up having to use Millsboro's facility for detention. So we're pretty much caught up on everything on the accreditation side other than the detention facility. So I'll be doing that in the next probably month or 2, transition up there.
What's the distance between that facility and yours?
I'd say about 4 or 5 miles maybe. It's gonna be a little tricky in the summertime with traffic getting up there. Yeah, so as of right now, we're not gonna have a facility for us built in a timely fashion, it looks like. So detention area only is what we'll be going up there for. If I had the building today, I could have a accredited by the end of this year, but we're just not quite there yet. So accreditation, as Chief said, there were the 2 new standards that they just issued out were the restorative rest standard, which is like a fatigue management, and they also issued a first level training standard for supervisors. So those 2 new standards went out, I believe, last week. So they are adding them as they go. And I think that's all I had. Nothing. Not a word. I sent the board member our communications with the state police. I have not heard back
From the board?
from anyone yet. So we're not operating a request for. They tried to send me over there multiple times.
It's been a busy summer, a lot of people, a lot of traffic. Our accreditation is going to be, the assessors will be at our department Wednesday, the 27th of this month. They're already in the electronic files. Pretty sure those are all been approved and are in acceptance to the standard. It's very time consuming and very expensive. And of course, none of it was all mandated, but none of it was funded. And so the towns are scrambling to find where the money can come from to get it done. You know, I thank you for what you said about meeting town council meetings, letting them know the importance of, do you want a police department in 2028 or not? It's going to get more expensive. Just the lack of applicants has driven salaries sky high in some areas. Southern Delaware is not immune to that. I did 2 applicant interviews this morning, and they know that that's their questions are on salaries because they know everybody's advertising it. What are you paying? What are you paying? What are you paying? They're hiring and you're hiring, so it's you got to constantly be every year we're sharing salaries. And this year this department will go higher. The next year this department will go higher because they didn't get the hire that they wanted, and so the salaries are constantly changing. And when you're like, I need an additional $15,000 to meet an accreditation standard, it gets really tight on the budget. I'm going to have to potentially look at hiring another employee. I'm probably on my own not going to be able to keep up with the accreditation standards unless that's just all I do. So if I'm not at the next meeting, I'm probably at my keyboard doing accreditation standards. So it gets tough. I know that you guys have hired assistants to help with that.
Yeah, I think, again, a smaller agency, you got a larger agency like for state police, they have a separate division that handles accreditation. So folks have specialty training, and that is all they do when they come to work Monday through Friday as accreditation. And our small agencies, it is typically the chief and maybe one other officer. In our case, it was myself and Captain Hall that wrote our policy manual, did our accreditation, and so it's difficult because at the same time we're possibly the only officers on duty. I know back when we were first developing our policy manual, I was literally having to hit pause and run out and handle a traffic crash. And sometimes it was 2 or 3 days before you came back and you start up again. It just seemed like it took forever. So it is very difficult for these small agencies. Jason's a prime example. I know Mike down in Fenwick, the same way. These guys are working 40 hours a week just doing the accreditation to get where they're at. I think it's tough.
Probably the biggest concern I have about accreditation is that I've seen this happen in another state. It can snowball into an avalanche that just no longer feasible. And there are things I see with our accreditation. I think it's a good thing. I do support it. And I'll tell the director I support it, but my concerns are departments are struggling to get the standards done now to 2028, and they're already introducing new chapters for standardization. Can they slow down just a little bit and let these agencies get accredited before they start filing more chapters on? I saw in another state where it ended up getting so big, the physical standards they started making to the actual departments, it got into the millions of dollars of expenses to where it ended up in states suing each other and agencies suing states because their choices were, we are no longer a police department, or we have to somehow get out of the accreditation process. And so it ended up tanking. It was the state of Kentucky. They completely tanked the accreditation process, which I think is a bad thing. I think it's a good thing to mandate accreditation. I think it makes police departments more accountable, more professional. It's better for the officers. They're better trained, they're better educated. But there's a balancing act that I think has to be there.
What would it take to have a pause put on until 2028 when you see how many people are accredited versus dissolved? Like, what would it take would it take Moriarty being like, we're gonna put a pause until this first round of accreditation is through? Because like, we just went through this in the business world. We're like, okay, we were on this incremental, like $15 minimum wage. The moment they hit $15 minimum wage, they started the conversation about 20, and everyone went into panic mode because you got 2 other bills that are going to be hitting the bottom line. I mean, you know, our businesses in here know that's the conversation. It's like you don't wait to see what the ramifications are before you start instituting. So my question is, what would need to happen to push a pause until accreditation is solidified in 2028?
I think there's a couple of factors. Part of it is some of the accreditation standards were outdated. The prior standards hadn't been updated in years. So they were being changed, and some of that change is still happening. I know we made a couple changes at our meeting Tuesday, and we have Director Moriarty and I were talking afterwards, and he's like, I got like a whole manual that's got to get changed, and it took us like hours just to do 2 today. So how long is it going to take us to work our way all the way through? Now, with that being said, I think the departments, it's my understanding that the departments that are already in the accreditation pipeline, you're going to be held to the standards of today. If something changes 3 weeks from now,
Depends on which assessor you talk to.
you should be okay.
The standard, it doesn't roll out until October. I was told I had to meet that standard next week.
I would argue that, especially if it's something that requires a construction project to complete, or a $10,000 expenditure that you don't have the money for or something. I think we might be able to battle that a little bit. The other problem is, who set the $15 minimum wage? General Assembly. Yeah. And guess what? They're doing it to us. And all of the a lot of what we're doing is mandated by state statute. So we don't get a say in that, unfortunately. Especially folks down here in Sussex County don't get a say in it. I can tell you we have 2 of the major police reform bills that passed previously. I'm on the state legislative committee for the Police Chiefs Association, and we're already being told by the legislators that guess what? They're going to revisit revisit those, and there's more to come. And, what does that mean? We don't know. But I tell you what, we certainly know it's not gonna be anything positive. There's gonna be more standards. I don't know. You know, there's some, I think, in the General Assembly that would love for all these small departments to go out of business. Because in their eyes, a small agency is never gonna be able to be professional like some of the larger agencies. I beg to differ, and I think if you look at, for example, the just in the last 20 years, the police agencies that have been sued successfully doing civil actions, they ain't small agencies, it's the bigger ones. So bigger isn't always better. But a lot of that's out of our control. It's up to the General Assembly, and if they mandate something, and we got to follow.
Well, I would just kind of echo what Gail said about getting involved in your local municipality, but I can tell you, it is lonely representing Sussex County and Dover. So
Well, we
I'm
have.
gonna tell you that
Yeah, I
right
mean,
now.
it's just, it's politics. I mean, it is what it is. We don't have a say. I mean, we've got a very responsive, state senator and state representative down here, but they're in the minority, and they go up to Dover and they don't have a seat at the table.
Well,
And
taking advantage of the seats in the committees and stuff too is important, because very rarely from south of the bridge, is there anyone sitting around the
they
table.
said, we just, it's something that we have to work against every single year. You know, Chief alluded to that, things can be very expensive. We're trying to implement new equipment, new training. It's very expensive. The salaries are going up. I think probably by this time next year, you're gonna see most of the minimum salaries for recruit level, police academy level initial hire in Sussex County. The average is probably gonna be around 70 grand, in the academy. That's just salary, not, if you look at total compensation package, you're pushing $100,000 for, so might not be as bad for a Rehoboth or a Lewis, but Dewey that has a kind of a tax issue there, with no property taxes, and Shelbyville, rocking and rolling now, got some money coming in, but there's other agencies like Frankfurt and Dagsboro, and even Ocean View, because we're getting built out now, that we have a limited tax base, so there's really no choice other than to raise property taxes in order to generate that money or increase services. So it's tough.
Yes, so everyone, I want to apologize, or Chief wants me to apologize for her absence today. She was feeling a little under the weather. She actually made it to the parking lot, had to leave. So we were out in the sun all morning at one of our local communities. Burton Village had a little play day there with the kids and the cops, so it was good. Anyway, as for accreditation, we're moving full steam ahead. Jerry Brida with the Newark Police Department has been working with me. He's in our policies now, looking at what we need to do to clean everything up. Little history for our accreditation. It was assigned to me and I had to start from scratch. Our policies were dated back to the 80s when I was given them. And obviously they've been updated, but there was a lot that was just not right. So we decided to scrap everything in our policy and start with the Lexipol, which has been extremely helpful. We're staying with a lot of the standards. We're not trying to change much, but I had to rewrite it. It took about 6 months. Now we're coming out of summer, so it's going to be a lot more attention put into the policies. I'm the only one doing it. I don't have Jackie, our admin. She's so busy doing other things. Chief's got her stuff. It's just me. So we're hoping to have at least our mock done by December. That's the goal for right now. Unfortunately, like others, we do have a cell block, but it's older. We have some improvements that have been made. It looks like we're going to be okay with that. Our unfortunate issue in this whole thing is we're building a brand new police station. So I'm doing the full accreditation for a police station that's going to be gone in a year and a half. It's going to not be there anymore. So that we're gonna have to start over, but it's okay. We're doing fine.
Okay, just so you know, we've addressed that a little bit, with Director Moriarty. They're well aware the fact, I think they're gonna give you a little bit of slack because they understand that, your police station isn't a pipe dream at this point in time. It's actually under construction. They understand that, and I think, you're gonna see them give you guys a lot of slack. But I also think the minute the police station's up and running, you're gonna get a visit by them and they're gonna check
Absolutely.
compliance with the new station. But it's my understanding you guys are gonna be okay.
And I think my goal is to work daily with them, you know, as it proceeds. Just, is this right? Should we tell the contractors to fix this at this point? And maybe some change orders and whatnot, but we'll get it. So, but, yeah, other than that, Dewey's, in my opinion, it was a great summer. I was telling Chief earlier, it was more death by 1,000 paper cuts all summer. We didn't have very, very, low number of significant events, which is very rare. And a lot of the problem that we've had in the past with the gang members that were coming in, they just didn't show up this year. So we were very fortunate. Seasonals are good, they're almost gone.
They went somewhere, where did they go?
Well, to be honest with you, the two of our major players, one's in jail, one got shot, and the rest of them don't come because they're not coming. So until next year, we'll see.
We're good. We're still working on accreditation. We're tentatively scheduled for the tail end of September. That may get pushed back. We recently had to give up some real estate within our police department, the town hall. So we're our entrance, we're reworking it. We're going to be using a different entrance. So we're doing some security upgrades. HVAC is still under construction. It feels like it's been better over 2 years, I'm guessing. So we have some humidity issues and stuff like that. It can create other issues. So we're doing all that. We're in the process of updating all of our proofs, policy up for 100%. So we may get pushed back a little bit, but we're hoping by the end of the year we should hopefully get accredited. Upgrading our fleet, asking for money. As somebody can say, you know, when we're asking money for a council, a vehicle, we just purchased $56,900. That's before any of the emergency equipment's put in. So that'll be, I'm going back next month, ask for a little bit more money. So any chief that presents something that's, you know, the look and the feel when you're asking for large amounts of money. And to some towns that may not be a lot of money, but you're talking 80, 90,000 just for a vehicle. It's a lot of money. And then upgrading a lot of our stuff. We upgraded our body cameras. I'm looking at upgrading our tasers. So, trying to make better use of limited space. It used to be a bank where we're at now, so we share it with town hall. We're in the process of, we bought some land, we're looking at buying some more. But again, that's a multi-year process to even start construction of a police department. It's going to be very expensive. So we're years down the road, and what we have, we're trying to do the best with our space, and the design is not the best that we're in now. So we're just trying to make the best with what we have.
And a growing town.
And it's a growing town. And we do have a recruit that gradually finishes the academy in September, so we're excited about that. We're still hiring. We're going through the hiring process, the written and PT tests, and that's maybe something, you know, we've had several tests, and you got to, before we can hire, they got to go through a very lengthy process. She spoke on that a little bit, but we're finding a lot of times that a lot of people can't pass the written tests or the PT test. And that's just the beginning of it before we get to the background and, you know, everything else. So it's quite challenging. And as chief, you know, we're not just chief. I mean, we could be working the road, we could be hiring, working on a budget, policy, training. You know, we wear like probably 10 different hats at any different moment. So it's challenging, but we're getting close. We're excited to finally get finished, but we're not finished. Our accreditation continues now. And we're looking at maybe if there's funds to have a civilian accreditation manager or something as well. So if we can find those funds.
And
our chief. I think he's a magnet for grants. Does anyone else look for grants that might help with some of these funding issues? And how have they?
No, Fenwick, I mean, the chief, he's always, every town hall meeting to us, he's gotten a grant. I know he's very thorough.
Just trying to think of things that you can present to your council when you're asking for these funds. This is what we're doing. Now, how, we've gone out, taking the first steps. We need this funding.
Yeah, I want to speak for, Chief Morrissey, wasn't able to make it today. He's the lone ranger. He's the only officer in town and he's on the road, was, handling complaints and wasn't able to get away. And that's unfortunately the nature of being a small town police chief. But a couple things I want to point out. Chief Morrissey, he's right there with South Bethany. He's had his on-site assessment with the Delaware Police Accreditation Commission, passed everything, and was given verbal okay for accreditation at the October meeting. So they fully anticipate being awarded accreditation at the October statewide accreditation meeting. I strongly believe that South Bethany will get their accreditation at that same meeting as well.
Are we able to attend the accreditation meeting?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, Gail's been, and I would certainly welcome anybody. No, I don't, but I'll get it to Kendall, and Kendall can send it out to everybody. Everything down in Fenwick's been going well. They've had a good summer. They've had a couple traffic, pedestrian, safety initiatives, and by all accounts, things are going well. The chief was out there in a chicken suit one day. I said, I ain't doing that, she knew, but
Town council,
Yeah.
but had a good, they hosted the town, and, Morrissey was out there for the, Little League World Series with
Yeah.
all the girls
yeah,
from
did a
all
great
over.
bonfire, great community outreach event.
That was awesome.
Yeah, so,
Some girls had never seen the ocean before, so that was pretty amazing.
yeah, cool. But by all accounts, things are going extremely well there. And again, very big obstacle for him to overcome in short order. Yeah, to take them. They really had some issues. He stepped up, came into what I would just call a hot mess, and in short order was able to get things turned around and earn that accreditation. So it's going to be, I think, I know I'm going to be really happy for him in October. Same thing, Jason had the same thing in South Bethany. So kudos to them.
I'll need to take you the next date, the next meeting for the post, and that's November the 18th.
Where's the location?
Postal isn't there.
Dover.
They do have an online option, so you can participate online too, which is nice, saves you running to go.
I have a random question, only because it's come up this week, but are any of you using AI to your benefit?
Every day.
Okay. All right, and have you guys looked at any trainings and best practices, or is there any rules that have been set by the state for when or when you cannot?
There is not yet, but there's a lot of that coming. As far as using AI to rate police reports and even draft search warrants. Policy manuals, not so much, but the stuff that you're going to be testifying to in court. There's those issues really haven't even been addressed yet in Delaware.
Yeah.
I think everybody's being urged to just proceed with caution, and use it again. Right now, I think there's reluctance to use it for police reports and, search warrants and court orders, arrest warrants, those type of things. But it may be coming. I know there's other states that have pilot programs that, they're downloading, for example, body camera video, and AI is writing the police reports. The officer has to review it real quick and sign off on it. That technology does exist today. So, and in some cases, some of the studies out of Texas saying it was more accurate, actually, than the actual officer's reports. So, yeah, we're seeing where that goes.
Yeah.
Things are evolving, rather quickly with the police technology. Russ Carter, Lieutenant Carter here, is part of the IACP, was the technology group. He goes to their annual conferences, and him and I will be out in Colorado here in another month or two. We'll be in Colorado for a big conference out there where we get an opportunity to really go hands-on with a lot of the new technology. It's some pretty wild stuff. Yeah.
Many of our chiefs have anything that you want us as your citizens to help you with, particularly.
We're having our public safety day on the 20th of September, if anybody wants to come. Good turnout last year, and everyone, I mean, I believe everyone's, did you get the note? Did she send it to you? Okay, yeah, I'll send it to you if she did, but all the departments, fire departments, then right, Coast Guard usually there. September 20th. It's gonna be at the Lions Club. We take their parking lot and the North Beach parking lot. We have the fire department come, they cut a car in half. A lot of demonstrations, K9 drones. It's a really cool thing for the kids. It's our national night out.
I don't know if I probably still have it in my email, but you get your flyer for that and send it to Kendall.
Okay.
And then she can put it out on the website.
I think I put it on.
Jackie probably sent it.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
Jackie sent it, I put it on the. Put it on the.
It's basically our night out, and obviously National Night Out's in August, and it's not a good month for us.
They didn't call and ask. I don't understand.
We've got something similar, Cops and Goblins event, October, I believe it's 25th, at John West Park from 1 to 4. John West Park in Ocean View. I invite everybody to come out. It's our kind of like signature community policing event for the year. So we've got that going on. Something else on that real quick, another community outreach thing that we're working on now. Hasn't come out yet, but we've authored a children's book, and we've decided, actually we're already on, I think, the 3rd book now. So we're working with a local illustrator and a local publisher that have done children's books before. They volunteered their services, and our initial book is designed for freshman kindergarten students at Lord Baltimore Elementary School. So it's something that mom and dad can read to their kids the night before their first day at Lord Baltimore Elementary School. And it will give the kids an idea. Yeah, the goal of the book is that, to alleviate any fears that the children may have and introduce them to the school and the school staff. And so I think that's going to be pretty cool. Our second book is going to feature our police canine, and what the role is of the police canine unit. And so we want it to be a educational thing. We're targeting kindergarten to like 4th grade and that. But I think it's going to be pretty neat. I'm curious to see the book once we get it in print. I'll bring it, make sure everybody gets a copy of that when it happens. But something, signed copy.
Kendall and I are running out of ideas for presentations for homes. So please, if you have something that you're interested in. I know Howard DMS is one that we were asked about for this month. We couldn't arrange it. Our next meeting will be at Ocean View, and so we will be able to do that power DMS at Ocean View. But after that, then we're gonna need more ideas. So if you have ideas about what type of presentations we should do here at our meetings, or anything else that chiefs have ideas about, please drop that off to Kendall, and so we can really establish more things that we're gonna be doing. Is there any public attendees here?
Well, I got two questions.
Okay.
First, is training available to you guys on how to write grants? Is everybody getting?
Yeah, there's a lot of training, out there, available for that. I'll be honest with you, Ted, it's not, I can tell you, most of the stuff's not difficult. A lot of them are one pagers. But it's just knowing where to look and when to look. And, you know, right now with things, at the federal level, the grants have pretty much, dried up at the federal level and at the state level as well. And unfortunately, I think, Chief Lovins mentioned the fact that, our, illustrious General Assembly keeps coming out with these mandates for us, but they're unfunded mandates. And, so it's pushing it back on the towns. I think that's done intentionally, to be quite honest with you, because they don't want to be the bad guys and raise taxes at the state level to pay for any of this. So they put it on us, from a guy in Ocean View. That's for you guys to be the bad guys, with your town councils and raise the taxes. So, but there are grants out there, and they're really not that difficult. It's just a matter of going through the process.
Second one I got is, I'm reading a little article on, they're using high definition microphones in combination with a camera for sound enforcement. Anybody heard of that? Using it around anywhere?
Cliff, I think, will be the guy to answer that. One of the problems they have with sound enforcement, though, is all the ambient sound that comes with it. So if you're trying to say this apartment unit is got
The traffic.
what's that?
It's geared to traffic.
Traffic. Okay.
Right. So you set a decibel threshold at, 85 decibels.
Yeah.
If somebody goes through with a bad buffer, if the board's that,
I live
take a
this
picture.
I do, and, I've been battling this my whole entire career. Obviously, Dewey is a very loud place.
Yeah.
And you're having a certain type of people that have always moved into that town, and they didn't realize that there was bands and bars and noise, and so.
I don't understand.
You buy your place for cheaper than you can in Rehoboth, there's gonna be some couple downsides to that. Obviously, that's almost not true anymore.
Right.
Back then it was.
Mm-hmm.
The way we look at it, if you're gonna buy a house next to a pig farm, expect to smell something. Anyway, so we try to work, we have a decibel level that we feel is rather low, 70 at nighttime, 75 during the day. With our sound meters, a 70 decibel level is probably what I'm talking right now. Right. And, when you're standing next to the highway, it's impossible to get an accurate sound reading on the starboard or on the Rusty Rudder because the highway's right there. North Beach is its own little problem all the way in the back. It's very loud. It's the only one we can actually get a true noise reading on because it's basically in a neighborhood. And, we've worked with the bands. We've even, every year we'll get a complaint from Long Neck to turn the music down at the rubber. So it sounds odd.
Grill, I can hear Paradise Grill. Come on.
It sounds odd. I mean, the ceiling's low and the humidity's high. I mean, there's sound waves it's like you're standing on the rudder deck in Long Neck. So it's a problem we've dealt with. I'm sorry.
It's a free concert.
Another problem we had was our ordinance for the noise violation was a criminal offense. So we'd have to charge the bar manager of the Rusty Rudder, give them a criminal charge. Right. So we finally have just adopted our ordinance, made it a civil offense.
Danny, like if we had that sound meter in here today and say we had it directed at Cliff, and that's where we get into a little bit of a legal issue if it gets challenged in court, is it's going to pick up his voice And if you listen quiet, you're gonna hear the HVAC system. It's gonna pick up that.
Yeah.
It's gonna pick up, some chatter down the hallway. So all that ambient noise, so that 70 decibel, a lawyer's gonna say, yeah, it was 70, but he was only 50 because of that and that and that and everything else, just as breathing maybe or something, coughs so in Dewey, you've got, I mean, just the amount of traffic on the highway, people walking that are 2 blocks away that are yelling and screaming, all that's adding in, getting picked up by the technology isn't there to isolate all that and say this noise is only, coming from that source. So when it comes time to go to court, if these things are challenged, it becomes an issue.
And my problem with it is I know it's loud, like a family that rents and they don't realize that the rusty rudder is there and it blows their doors off, but they might be in compliance. It's just the way the noise is traveling to their house.
Sure, yeah.
You know, I do feel for them. There's only so much we can do. If they're not over the ordinance, they're not over the decibel reading, we can't.
Back in the beaches down the road.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, go.
Yeah.
Can't do anything.
This device they were writing about was geared traffic. Yeah, so it's like mounted on a pole, like a speed camera. Yes. With a highly directional microphone and capability to record the car with the sound. What's that? They'll sell you. I'm sure they would. But again, it's apparently it's being used out west.
I just don't understand how that would work. I mean, yeah, it's obvious a Harley Davidson goes by and it's extremely loud, but they're gonna be able to give you a penalty based on that?
Yep, you see that decibel level.
Yeah, the first thing I'd say in court is, I got a loud muffler, but it's not over that decimal level. What about all the other cars that contributed to that?
Yeah.
You know, if you impounded the vehicle and put it in a soundproof room and that was the only thing making a noise, I think you could have a leg to stand on the board, but I don't know how you're gonna be able to prove that from doubt that that one vehicle was solely the responsibility for that low decibel level.
They didn't go into that in the article.
Interesting technology, it's a, like this technology,
that.
the technology.
The article found how much money they're making from that. No, you put that down here, I'll turn, drive by, they're paying fine. Well, you got Chris Lake in Ocean City, clean up.
I'm gonna open this up now to all of our public members.
I just had a question. To our chiefs here. This is the first summer you mentioned traffic, and I know this can be a complete debacle of a discussion. But this is like the first summer in my life that I've dealt and been in this traffic. It's gridlock. Are there things that you as chiefs of police can do, or do you address to the higher ups about the infrastructure of our area? That is, I mean, it's gridlock. It took me, I live in Keene. And so there's no back way to get to Keene. It took me, what's that?
They know the back way too.
Well, I'm just saying, as far as an emergency response concern with the lack of infrastructure in our area, we all know it's a problem. But I didn't know as police officers, I mean, is there something that you guys can address it? You talk to, I don't know if the politicians will get it right, but I'm just saying, are there steps that you take to deal with
We
that?
have voiced our concerns. In fact, we had a meeting today to discuss this. One of the things that we're looking at doing is in September, we're going to have we have a monthly county police chiefs meeting. We have monthly state police chiefs meetings. And at our upcoming county police chiefs meeting, one of the things that's going to be on the agenda is trying to make time for at the county council meetings that we have a police chief that will be representing the County Police Chiefs Association at every county council meeting because to address some of these problems. Now, if you talk to Doug Hudson, who's president of county council, Doug will tell you that Sussex County has no say in the highway infrastructure in the state. Unlike a lot of other places in the country, we don't have county highways. Brown County, Road Department, it's all DelDOT. And the DelDOT, Sussex County Planning and Zoning, don't always talk to each other.
Well, those grids are very different.
Yeah.
The way that the state grid is overlaid with the county's grid are two different things. You can be talking about one road and the state calls it a high growth zone. And the county's like, building going on there
Yeah.
for the next 20 years, so.
Yeah, and then we got another area that are like out in West Fenwick and,
How
like,
many homes they put up in between our houses?
Yeah.
I mean, was it
Yeah.
400?
yeah, you go,
Those are resources, again, that you're gonna have to draw to. I mean,
well, we're doing that. In fact, that we have a study going on the way, the town of Ocean View is paying $29,000. We're contracting out with the International Association of Chiefs of Police to explore, just our legal liability, because we're going to hundreds and hundreds of calls for service outside of our jurisdiction annually, and we're all doing it. I think, just because where we're located geographically, we're doing a lot more than some departments. And, we're worried about the risk, to the town. And at the same time, our citizens are paying a lot of money. We've got 14 officers and, all of them getting a good salary and, those officers that the citizens of Ocean View are paying for are going out into the unincorporated areas and providing police services for free without compensation. And at the same time, the town doesn't have somebody covering, the citizens that are paying for the police officers being in Ocean View don't have anybody in Ocean View. So we are subsidizing the county with police services. And collectively, if you look all around Sussex County, all the municipalities are doing that. The problem is we can't get the Sussex County Association of Towns and the League of Local Governments to really take a look at this. I think they're really ignorant as to what that impact is. We talked to Millsboro Police. The last 4 times the city of Millsboro has been sued civilly and paid out involved their police department going outside of town to assist the Delaware State Police. And in some of those cases, they didn't sue the Delaware State Police, they sued the Millsboro Police. State police are self-insured, or state agencies are self-insured, and it was easier for them to sue the town and settle with the town insurance company than it was to sue the state. And so we're looking at what we can do to minimize that risk to the towns. But
You work with, I'm sorry, Bill, do you work with I know you work with Millville, but like, I know Roxanne is getting ready to redo Station 2 on 54 because again, response time. So like your point on Keenwick, they have the main station, Station 1 on 17, and then to respond to 54, so now they're redoing Station 2. And like that response time, like when you have gridlock traffic and also nobody pulls over when there's the siren or anything anymore. I thought that was a law that you had.
there it
Okay.
is, but yeah.
Yeah. But like how much sharing of response time is there between like, we're coming up to emergency, management preparedness month in September. How much is sharing of information of like, hey, on a summer day in July, it takes us, 4 minutes to respond, 7 minutes to respond, 8 minutes to respond. And how do you curate that into a message?
Before we say anything, I think one of the problems is the fact that everyone has, talk about Ocean View, for example.
Yeah.
You have the Ocean View Ocean View Coastal Code.
Right.
There might be thousands of homes in that code,
Right.
but they are not in the town limits.
Right.
And so therefore, they're getting services, so they have to go out to those areas that are not in our jurisdiction.
Right.
So once they leave the jurisdiction of the town, then you're creating hassle. That's why our officers could easily service our jurisdiction. It's when they have to go out, and it's the same with, I believe, when Dewey doesn't have the same, but South Bethany, you probably, well, you do have the same because you can't go to the school because it's outside your jurisdiction.
Right.
And I don't know about Selbyville, we have the same thing. You have a town, the officers could
Incorporated versus
easily
unincorporated.
cover their incorporated area, but they're spending most of their time going out to something that happened outside of the town.
And that's where, okay, so then help me, I'm just trying to like, so that when you're a department versus the company, right? So your Dagsboro Volunteer Fire Company, you're covering maybe more than just your current service
well,
area.
Yeah, so they have a fire district.
Correct.
They cover the fire district. Although they have mutual aid with all the other fire districts in Combrook Island, Roxana, Bethany Fire Company, Roxana, even Millville, also even going to Maryland with mutual aid with Ocean City, or Bishopville. But the police departments, we have jurisdiction in our communities. Now, Ocean and South Bethany, we have an agreement. All of the South Bethany officers are deputized as Ocean View officers and vice versa. So we are in a lot of ways just one department.
Creating a mini district.
That we can, but when we go outside in the unincorporated areas, we have to be dispatched by the PSAP, Public Safety Answering Point, which for us is SUSCOM, the 911 center. If they dispatch us outside of town, and I know you guys go a lot, just north of town, we've got a mile. My son's a trooper, works at a Troop 7. He said they couldn't do it without Dewey Beach PD. But we're all doing it. And when we're dispatched by the 911 center, we have the same jurisdiction, same authority as a Delaware State Trooper.
Right.
But we're not being paid. The town, our town doesn't get compensated. Where it becomes a problem, I'll give you an example. A couple of years back, we had an officer years ago that was responding to just a burglar alarm outside of the town limits that they sent us to because there was no trooper available. And he struck a deer on the way to that call and he totaled the car. After the insurance payout, it cost our citizens an extra $30,000 to replace that car. The state police didn't step up and give us that 30 grand. So that's one of the things that the study that I mentioned, we're going to look at. Okay, we know there's a lot of risk involved. How can we mitigate that? One of the things I think we should do is ask for indemnification by the state. If we go outside of town and something happens, we're involved in an arrest scenario and we get sued, the citizens of Ocean View shouldn't have to go hire a lawyer and pay that cost. Maybe the state that's self-insured would insure us under their umbrella, but if we're acting as an agent of the state, and in that case, and if there's any damage done, say we lose a police car or we have equipment that's damaged or whatnot, that they would compensate us for that. If an officer is going to get charged criminally, maybe there's a criminal element there too, because there was an officer involved shooting, and now that officer is going to be investigated, as a criminal suspect of a homicide, possibly. We have to furnish him an attorney, and I know Dewey Beach went through that not too long ago. We went through that a couple of years back, and that there's cost involved. The state has a deputy attorney general that's assigned to represent the state troopers that would be involved in a shooting like that. We're on our own, even though we're going to their call at their request. We're left kind of on our own. If it's a real significant event, that could bankrupt one of these small towns.
Doesn't the certification that's state certified sort of help that argument that if the state's making these standards, they shouldn't pick up your?
I think that gives us the authority to be there. Certainly, our training is exactly the same as the state police. We go to the academy with them side by side. In fact, I'd argue in most cases, it's the smaller agencies have better training as far as post-academy training. Certainly more of it than the average trooper, but that doesn't reduce the civil liability and the civil exposure. It's a good argument to have in our corner, that our officers are well trained and they're certified, we meet the state standards. But,
I can see what if they sit there and say, your standards are less, we don't want to insure you, but if it's exactly the same, they should pick up the indemnity.
and the other part of that too is we're all struggling. Imagine it's Dewey Beach in the summertime and you go north of town, you send 3 or 4 guys and there's a shooting. Well, guess what? They're all off the road and it's July and they're getting paid still. They're off the road. You don't have the help. You may have to, open up overtime jobs or whatever to cover the time when they're out of service. So God forbid one of them gets injured and it's a job ending, career ending injury, or God forbid even worse, somebody gets
Or else
killed.
throws off the road for a year.
Yeah.
Because the insurance company would not,
Yeah.
until state police cleared him, which took them a year.
Yeah.
The insurance company would not cover him.
So there's a lot going on there, and it's going to be very difficult for these small towns to continue to operate. I'm really curious where we're going to be 10 years from now. Yeah. It'll be interesting.
One of the things, back to your original question, I stumbled upon on Eventbrite. The Delaware Office of Highway Safety has been doing working groups, and some have been in person and some have been webinars. And a lot of these topics have come up. There's been law enforcement officers, people from DelDOT, engineers, people that are actually involved with the infrastructure and the planning, and zoning committees. And it's been interesting conversation. Like they'll have a large topic and this is what we're going to talk about. And then they've broken us down. I've gone to 2 where they break us down into different groups. And this is what you're going to talk about in your circle. And then they bring us all back together to kind of discuss where things are. It's been a lot of very positive talk, but at this point it's just been talk. But it might be interesting for you to look into.
I just don't see how, because I travel, my daughter goes to school in Georgetown. I don't see how they can get away or not, if it's not in their plans to every east-west corridor, 29, 24, 9, 54, and 26. They need to be dualized, period.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way around it. I know it's going to be a construction nightmare, but at this point, we're past, we're past any kind of remedy other than dualizing.
Yesterday, it took me an hour and a half to get from my house in Dagsboro to a doctor's appointment close to BB Hospital. An hour and a half.
Yeah, that's,
And I hear choppers flying all the time for every accident.
yeah, because it's.
County council was telling us that Shelbyville, Ocean View, Millville, that area down there, which includes Roxana, Byard, that is the right now the largest amount of growth that's going to be occurring in the next couple of years in Sussex County that they're aware of. That's kind of pre-approved, if you will. That's where it's going to take place at. Byard. I mean, you go back there, we got thousands of homes coming there. And what I was told was every one of those farms is under contract. And the developers are throwing stupid money out and they're getting it. And we're gonna have 5, 6
shoulders on it.
I mean, yeah, you're talking all back to Ken Barnes and
There's a bike tour out there. You're telling me.
There's hurricane evacuation.
Anyway, I just didn't know if there was something that you as chief of police.
Yeah,
It falls on deaf ears when I talk to DelDOT, Gerald, and just done.
I tell you what,
Love to both, but our legislators, but just nothing's happening.
well, unfortunately, like I said, it is what it is. It's politics. There's no sense even complaining about it because there's nothing we can do about it. But, guys like Gerald and Ron are in the minority party, and this is a one-party rule state. And it just is what it is. And I don't know what to say about that, but all of the money, if you talk to Doug Hudson, he'll tell you that's something like only 17% of the tax revenue generated in Sussex County, tourism and agriculture, we only get 17% of that comes back to the people of Sussex County. The rest of it goes up north. So because the legislators from up north control the money, so it's a difficult situation. It ain't getting any better.
Go by boat.
Probably be quicker.
If I hear one more time, I can't believe how bad the traffic's getting since I moved here 2 years ago. It's.
You
Mr. Alonso, you are the traffic.
You are the problem.
You are the problem.
Diana, did you have anything you'd like to discuss or raise?
No. Just the traffic is really bad.
It's-
Ed?
And I live in Southern.
All good, thank you.
Anything?
That might be.
All good.
You skipping this year? I got one more victory. Thank you. I have a victory and I want to thank Chief. We had the shoplifting. We did a whole thing with the Sussex County Prosecution Office, and we were learning a little bit about how much our businesses were budgeting for theft and vandalism, and it was staggering. And there was a breakdown between, reporting. Businesses just quit reporting because it was going to court and it was getting thrown out because it's a misdemeanor and there's not enough public defenders and the whole deal. And so we had a meeting of like, okay, well, this feels like it's like, what can we do, right? What can the businesses do? They feel really powerless to report and have it not go. And so there was some really great advice of like the certified letters, and you can do this, that, and the other thing, and always like report, but be prepared to follow through with reporting. And so just this week, one of our businesses who has been a real champion of trying to figure out how to get this, like stealing is bad, regardless of how much it is to stop. And the case went to mediation upon recommendation from the officers, and they made the recommendation of like, oh, this is a first time offense, why don't you go to mediation? And it did, and they got to do community service in the area where the theft was, if this is somebody that didn't live there. They had to do a course through the criminal justice for theft in regards to theft, and 20 hours of community service, and then an apology to the staff and the employees for it to not go to court. And all three, she put 3 forward thinking one of them would be selected, and all 3 were selected. So just that if there is anything that the police officers, again, could call back and say, what community service can be done in Ocean View or South Bethany or Dewey, having a little list would be great. And even if it's educational or if it's something that like, washing cars or showing up, but like having that for the businesses, I know the mediation route was huge. And I think something that we're gonna try to figure out how to get that messaging across, so it's not just another case dismissed.
We use it all the time. The Center for Community Justice is wonderful. We use that. Our ultimate court passes out community service. I mean, we don't have a lick of trash, not even a cigarette butt in that town by the end of the week.
Right.
So, oh yeah, those kids are out there. They get either 20 hours or whatever the court deemed is appropriate, and they just go out there and pick up trash all day.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, the issue I think going forward with that is for the kid in Dewey Beach that was drunk, that, stole a pair of sunglasses or something, that process is very, very appropriate. To avoid having a criminal record, and a lot of times avoid coming back for multiple court appearances and whatnot. I think it's also effective too to get, I'm sure there's some restitution involved as well. Normally there's restitution for the business owner. We've seen some cases this year. I don't know if who else has seen it, but we had, for example, an event at the Verizon store in Ocean View. Guy came down and went in there and very quickly stole about $10,000 worth of merchandise at the Verizon store and left. Kind of borderline. He bumped an employee. Borderline. Could have been elevated to a robbery, because force, because of force in place. But at the end, I think it's just, felony shoplifting. But this individual was, we tracked him all the way back to, it was a rental car out of Prince George's County, Maryland. Subject was from the District of Columbia. He's multiple robbery, career criminal status, multiple felony robbery charges. And, they're coming down here for the day. So we were able to track them using, license plate readers, between here and DC. In fact, I think 8 hours after, they hit our store in Ocean View, they were hitting on, cameras in Washington DC. So, that's something that we're gonna have to contend with. Mediation isn't appropriate for a rule like that, but, my fear is we're gonna see, this is, I call it fertile hunting grounds. We got a lot of senior citizens down here that are vulnerable. There's a lot of wealth here, especially in our beach communities. If the real, organized criminal element, once they find this place, I think, we're gonna get hit hard. Because, we're not that far from PG County and DC and.
Well, the bright side, maybe all the traffic problems keep coming.
Yeah, true. Yeah, maybe that's-
Can't get anywhere fast. Oh, goodness.
We got some challenges ahead of us, I think, with all these folks coming.
If there's no further discussion, I'll entertain a motion to. Could you give us the date of it? And they said Ocean View. I did not do it. Second Thursday.
Yeah, I want to add something too. There's a lot of very positive commentary at the post meeting. There was questions from citizens about PACs in particular. There's one citizen group, it's based out of Delaware. I think I kind of got the feeling that they're, I don't know where they stand as far as their support of the police, but they were asking a lot of questions about PACs, and Director Moriarty continues to use our PAC down here as the example for others to follow. There's a lot of positive comments about that.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, November 13th. Loud enough.
I'm sorry, what was it?
November 13th. Yeah, it's gonna be at Ocean View at the.
And yeah, what did you want for a topic? One of the topics.
We're doing Howard D event. First one I was thinking.
Simple.
Yeah, the one that's done by the park, not the Ocean View Police Department, the Ocean View.
Town West Park.
I'll send that. We also, Holly suggested that we have a group picture, because we don't have a group picture of our members.
Give us a warning so we can wear our shirts.
Oh, yeah.
Want to do that at the November meeting?
Can I look at you on